Today, we're diving into the world of automotive cybersecurity. And to really get why this is such a huge deal, we've got to start with a really simple question about that car that might be sitting in your driveway right now.
I mean, think about it, right? Modern cars are stuffed with millions of lines of code. They're basically computers on wheels, managing everything from your engine performance to your Spotify playlist. And just like your laptop or your phone, that makes them vulnerable. We're not just talking about someone stealing your data, we're talking about threats that could mess with the car's most basic functions.
So, if our cars are these super complex rolling computers, you think we'd have a pretty solid way of protecting them, right? Well, for the longest time, the answer was messy. The whole approach to car security was confusing, it was fragmented, and honestly, it was a bit of a nightmare.
For years, there was no single rulebook. It's like trying to build a skyscraper where the electrician, the plumber, and the engineer are all working from completely different blueprints. That's kind of what car security was like. Everybody was trying to solve the same huge problem, but they were all doing it in their own separate ways, creating this chaotic, inconsistent mess.
And you have to understand, this is so much bigger than just stopping a car from getting hacked while it's driving. Real automotive cybersecurity touches literally every single part of a vehicle's life. It starts way back in the design phase, it has to be baked into the manufacturing process, and it even covers the giant back-end computer systems that store all our vehicle data. Security has to be absolutely everywhere.
So how in the world do you get an entire global industry with all these competing companies to finally get on the same page? Well, that brings us to the first part of the big solution. You create a shared how-to guide, a single blueprint for building security right from the very start.
And here it is. Its name is ISO/SAE 21434. Now, don't let the numbers scare you. Just think of this as the master blueprint for the entire auto industry. It's not a piece of software or some gadget. It's a standard that creates a common language, a shared vocabulary, so that when Ford talks about cybersecurity engineering, they mean the exact same thing as Toyota or Volkswagen.
Now, here's the really clever part. The standard is intentionally a little bit vague. It tells car makers what they need to do, like you must identify potential risks, but it doesn't tell them exactly how to do it. And that flexibility is absolutely crucial, because hacking methods and technology change so fast. By focusing on the goal instead of the specific tool, the standard stays relevant no matter what new threat comes along next year. And adopting this standard, it forces a completely new way of working. This is not just a job for the IT department anymore. No way. Companies now have to define who exactly is responsible for cybersecurity. They need to build 24/7 security centers to constantly watch for new threats. And they have to do something called threat analysis and risk assessments, or TARAs, right from the moment a new car is just an idea on a drawing board. Okay, so having a blueprint is a fantastic start. But a blueprint is just a guide, right? What gives it real teeth? Well, that brings us to the next and maybe most important piece of the puzzle, the new rules of the road that turn this guide into actual law.
And this is where everything changes. That ISO standard we just talked about, that's the industry's best practice. It's the common language. But these UN regulations, R155 and R156, these are the law. They are non-negotiable legal requirements to sell a car in dozens of countries, including the entire European Union. It's the difference between a suggestion and a command.
These laws basically break down into two big ideas. First, you've got UN R155. This is all about the process. It forces car makers to prove they have a certified cybersecurity management system, a CSMS. Basically, they have to show their work. Then there's UN R156. This one looks to the future. It requires a software update management system, or SUMS, to make sure that cars can be safely and securely updated for their entire lifespan out on the road. And let's be perfectly clear, this isn't just a slap on the wrist or some small fine. The consequences are incredibly simple and severe. If a car company cannot get its systems and processes certified under these laws, they cannot get their new vehicles approved for sale. No certification means no sale. Period.
So we have the blueprint, and we have the law. When you put them together, you get this fundamental shift in how the entire industry thinks about security. It's no longer just a feature you add. It's a commitment that lasts a lifetime.
And here is how it all locks together so perfectly. The blueprint, that ISO standard, it gives companies the framework, the step-by-step guide to follow. And by following that guide, they can successfully build the robust security systems that are required by the law, those UN regulations. The guide and the rule, they're designed to work together, hand in glove.
This creates a totally new mindset.
Security is no longer something you worry about just until the car rolls off the assembly line. It's now a cradle-to-grave responsibility. As the new philosophy goes, cybersecurity doesn't end until the last vehicle is scrapped. That means the manufacturer is on the hook for that car's security for its entire life.
So, let's wrap this all up. We started with a big problem. Our cars have become these incredibly complex computers, but security was a total mess, a confusing patchwork. The solution came in two key parts. First, the industry created a common blueprint, ISO 21434, to get everyone speaking the same language. Then came the laws, UN R155 and R156, which turned that friendly blueprint into a hard legal requirement. And the single biggest takeaway? This whole process is never done. Security is now a commitment for a vehicle's entire life, from the first sketch to the final scrapyard.
This new framework is giving us the rules for the road today. But it also sets the stage for an even bigger, more complicated question about tomorrow. As our cars become more and more autonomous, who is ultimately responsible when something goes wrong? Is it the manufacturer that built the hardware? The company that wrote the software? Or maybe, is it the person who owns the car? That's the massive debate we're all going to have to figure out very, very soon. Thanks for joining me.